Greetings, welcome to another Deckard Games YouTube review thing. And today we are going to take a look at another not Yakuza game. What happens when you mix stuff like the good old Streets of Rage games, Grand Theft Auto and LA Noir? Well, you get not Yakuza, aka Judgment. Developed by Ryuga Gotoku Studio and published by Sega in 2018 for the PlayStation 4 in Japan and in 2019 for the rest of the world. Judgment comes in your standard blue PlayStation 4 box. Looking at the front, it lets you know that includes a reversible cover art and a sticker, so let's take a peek inside. It is still sealed, so I guess this is also an unboxing. Inside the box we get the promised sticker from Ryuga Gotoku Studio. That name right there. We also get a manual in 2019. What the crap? This is not a manual, but just your legal stuff. Damn you for making me look like a fool. And we also get the game itself on a lovely round piece of plastic, and the reversible cover art, which is not that great. I guess I prefer the original one, but whatever. Looking at the back, it lets you know that Justice is apparently blind. Well, maybe in video games, because in real life, not only it is not blind, but has some great sight. Well, it is what it is. In 2019 one can't expect much more than this, so time to play and review Judgment. Judgment is a third-person action-adventure game with some thriller elements to it, and it is a spin-off from the Yakuza series. In fact, Judgment takes place in the Yakuza world of Kamurocho, while following the day-to-day life of former lawyer and current private investigator Takayuki Yagami, as he takes jobs from his former lawyer office and the Yakuza themselves. Again, the game takes place in Tokyo's red light district, so expect a world full of civilians minding their own business to bump into, a city full of color, neon signs everywhere, and lots of side things to do. Being a Yakuza spin-off, expect all the Yakuza stuff, and I don't mean this as a complaint. I love the Yakuza series, but when I heard of a spin-off, I was expecting a true spin-off, when in fact there are lots of stuff that are exactly the same. Let's start with the game map. It is kind of small when compared to other games, but yet again, the city gives you that feeling of being alive, with pedestrians walking around, lights, restaurants to get some meals, vending machines, arcade places to enjoy some Sega classics, to not-so-legal joints to visit. Yes, the quests have the player going from point A to point B, but there is plenty of stuff to do, and there isn't a limited time to do so. You can walk around and visit places at will, in a city where apparently everybody knows some kind of martial art. Man, I have to visit Japan, hoping that I don't get my ass kicked, of course. I have to point out the absurd amount of time that I've wasted going through the games within the game. It's like an inception of video games, playing stuff like Virtua Fighter 5, Fighting Vipers, Fantasy Zone, Puyo Puyo, and even a kind of House of the Dead Yakuza style. In fact, the amount of places to visit and the things to do are so many and so good that one can get easily distracted from the game itself. Oh, and by the way, isn't this some Wachowski brothers / sister stuff? Some Matrix moves and V for Vendetta mask? Am I the only one seeing it? Moving along, like I've stated, Judgment borrows a lot from the Yakuza series, and the gameplay is no exception. In fact, Judgment is an improvement over the Yakuza games. You still play in the third-person perspective, with some minor parts of investigation that takes place in a first-person mode, but are rather simple and quick. Movement can get weird sometimes, with some camera issues having you banging against walls, doors, and pedestrians, which can sometimes be hilarious. As for the fighting, well, I love it. The fighting is also an improvement to the previous Yakuza entry. Yagami, beside from being a former lawyer and now a full-time PI, is also a kicking-ass machine with two fighting styles, Crane and Tiger, to tackle single and multiple opponents. The fighting is just absolutely over the top, with some absurd moves and with enemies and stuff flying all over the place. You can take your enemies on hand-to-hand combat, or you can pick up an assortment of objects and lay some royal beatings. I especially enjoy the irony of doing some bicycle kicks, also known as Pele kicks, with some real bicycles. It is just hilarious. This is as close as I can get to a modern Streets of Rage kind of game.
Really, guys?
During the fights, Yagami gains points, which can be spent on acquiring new moves and skills, and while Yagami seems way overpowered compared to his enemies, it's always fun to have some sort of progression thing. I mean, look at this royal beating. Did these guys ever stand a chance? Aside from the fighting scene, Judgment introduces the detective side of things. These go from just chasing after a dude while incognito, from searching crime scenes in the previous mentioned first-person perspective, to questioning other individuals.
You have an alibi? What time did they think Kume died?
Apparently between 2 and 3.
And while the questioning part has some mechanics to it, awarding the player if you get the right questions, meaning that one has to pay attention to the dialogue, it's pretty much it. There is no in-depth questioning like in LA Noire, and it is not only simple but also too easy. I never got to the point of not knowing what questions to ask or what piece of evidence to present.
Where did you and Kume have your fight?
Out in front of a club, Amor, over on Supon Street.
I don't hate the detective part of things, nothing like that. It is a good effort and it brings something new to the game. But I believe that something more could have been done regarding the investigation aspect. Something more profound, and especially something more decisive, because your actions don't really have much effect on the story. As for the graphics, it is a Yakuza game, so there's not much to talk about it. The Yakuza series doesn't try to go all realistic, but rather pleasuring the eyes with beautiful colors and sceneries, and that is exactly what we get. On the sound department, the game is awesome with some great music from start to finish, great sound effects, and awesome voice acting.
Come in, Kaito-san. Are you getting close yet?
Yep, right by the Don Quixote.
In this regard, Judgment not only has the original Japanese voices, but there is also the option for English, and they are equally good, which is always a good thing when talking about translations.
What's your name? I never said I'd field any questions, asshole. It's Yagami. Take a good look. Now do you believe me?
So would I recommend Judgment? The answer is yes. Judgment is not perfect and it promised more than it delivers. The old badass detective thing is kind of underwhelming. It basically puts the player tailing other guys and asking questions which don't have that much impact if failure occurs. So I wish for a more in-depth investigation similar to LA Noir. Nevertheless, when it comes to the Yakuza series, this is an improvement. The combat is absolutely awesome, and I love opening a can of whoop-ass like the old days of Streets of Rage. Moves are over the top, and I find that hilarious in a good way. The city seems alive and breathing, with lots of people going around and with a number of different things to do. In fact, the game would be worth it just for playing Fighting Vipers and Fantasy Zone alone. By the way, what is Sega waiting for to release a Sega Saturn collection? The games look awesome in modern systems. The main plot is very interesting, which I didn't spoil in this video, with great characters that you meet along the way. The gameplay is great, the combat is just awesome, the sound and voice acting are very good also. The only downside is the detective part, but this being their first try on the genre, I'll let that pass. It is not bad, but it could be much better, and I give them props for trying something new when most companies just play it safe. So if you like Sega stuff and video games in general, you came to the right place. Check out my other videos because I cover an assortment of different things that you can enjoy, from reviews to history videos to how to build really old PCs. You can also follow me in the various social media networks that exist for some social media nonsense. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and leave it a thumbs up. I very much appreciate it. And as always, thank you very much for watching this, and until my next video, take care.
And stay down.